This is Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV.
Dott TV, the heart of the matter.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
We are delighted to be back, strong, happy, and ready to explore what's on the table for today. I am here with the crew, of course. Henry is here. Good morning, Henry.
Yeah, thank you, Ify. Viewer, you're welcome to the show.
And of course, Success.
Yeah, a very warm welcome to you this morning. Arise and shine. You are watching Morning Dew. The day just got started.
And for a morning like this, I'm wondering what's the best meal one can start off today with. Have you had a cup of coffee or something?
I would rather prefer ofen salad because I know, yeah, ofen salad. Okay, pepper soup as it were.
Yeah.
Because, we're coming to a studio that is usually very chilling. So when you warm the system, then you're able to cope.
I think a cup of tea or coffee would do it for me on this beautiful morning as we explore what's topical across. And I'm sure, of course, the starting of the day with a bit of exercise is a success. I don't know how you start your day.
Of course, some little bit of exercise, a cup of coffee, and looking beautiful this morning.
Be careful when you take coffee.
Was intentional.
Coffee?
It was actually an intentional
Coffee.
thing to do.
On an empty stomach, does it work?
I don't understand. That's what I'm trying to tell her. I'm cautioning her that she be careful. I know she likes coffee. For me, I don't know, when I was younger, sorry, I'm not threatening you. And when I wake up, I used to do some aerobics and all that, but these days it's far between.
Okay.
Yeah, not every day,
But of course, as much as possible.
Sure, it's necessary to exercise the body.
So how do you start your day? We do hope that one of these days we'll definitely do something that can involve everyone who's watching. You can just drop us comments. If you're watching now, you can even let us know how you start off your day, because that is what jumpstarts the day or what actually makes it dip. So start your day on a bright note. We'll take a short break. News update will be up next.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
On Morning Dew, Delta State Governor Right Honorable Sheriff Oborowori on Wednesday called on stakeholders across the state to unite in the fight against terrorism, kidnapping, and other forms of criminality, noting that security remains a collective responsibility requiring the active participation of government security agencies, traditional institutions, community leaders, and citizens. The governor made a call while delivering his keynote address at the Delta State Security Summit 2026 held at the Unity Hall, Government House, Asaba, under the theme Security, a Collective Responsibility. A London jury has acquitted former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison Madueke, of all 6 bribery charges brought against her. The verdict, delivered on Wednesday at Southwark Crown Court, brings to a close a high-profile corruption trial involving Alison Madueke, who served as Minister of Petroleum Resources from 2010 to 2015. Under the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan, she had faced 5 counts of accepting bribes and 1 count of conspiracy to commit bribery. She consistently pleaded not guilty to all the charges. The jury found her not guilty on all counts after months of court proceedings. Reacting to the verdict, Alison Madueke described the judgment as the end of an 11-year legal ordeal, maintaining that she had always acted lawfully and in accordance with due process.
The federal government officially launched a nationwide digital switch over DSO platform. This subscription-free initiative, dubbed Free TV, delivers over 100 channels, including local, regional, and indigenous language programming to households across Nigeria. The platform marks a major reset for Nigeria's long-delayed digital migration, offering a variety of transmission methods and new content opportunities.
While senior U.S. officials have revealed the 14-point memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran to end the recent conflict, key takeaways include a $300 billion reconstruction fund, an end to hostilities in Lebanon, waived oil sanctions, and a toll-free reopening of the Strait of Hormuz for 60 days. The main terms include nuclear constraint, reiteration that Iran will not procure or develop nuclear weapons, ceasefire and blockade, immediate end to military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and the lifting of U.S. naval blockades on Iranian ports. U.S. officials say it includes Iran not buying or having a nuclear weapon and ending the war on all fronts, a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And finally in sports, England made a winning start to their World Cup campaign as England overpowered Croatia with a 4-2 win. Harry Kane put England ahead on 12 minutes with a twice-taken spot kick after Luka Modric fouled Noni Madueke. And in Africa, Ghana secured a hard-fought win over Panama at Toronto Stadium, winning the game for the Black Stars and denying Panama a first World Cup point, with Ghana beating Panama 1-0. So what do we say to the Black Stars? Congratulations.
This is a good start for Africa.
Yes.
Now it's the second time we're winning our game.
Absolutely.
This time we'll be able to make a reasonable impact in this competition.
Yes, we say sustain the victory because it's a win. A win for Ghana is a win for the rest of us. And I wish all African teams were at the World Cup a very successful one. Success, what do you have to say about that?
Yes, Ghana has to, put Africa in the front of the World Cup. So it's a good one.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Ghana. All right, and that does it on News Update. But we haven't even looked at the dailies for today. Let's find out what the dailies are saying in just a moment. Stay with us. We're going to short break.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
This is still Morning Dew on Dott TV, and this is our newspaper review segment. Starting with Nigerian Tribune, what's on the front burner for today? The big headline, Dott Diezani free. London court clears her of bribery charges with the rider. Ex-minister says faith family sustained me through 11 years of traumatic journey. Now that's on page 3 of Nigerian Tribune. Above the masthead, insecurity overtakes economy as Nigerians' top concern ahead of 2027 elections. That's coming from SMD Intelligence. With the rider, 80% of voters say Nigeria heading wrong direction. Nigeria's external reserves rise $1 billion in 14 years, near CBN $51.04 billion 2026 target, as IMF cautions against continued accumulation. And lastly, on Nigerian Tribune, for what we're taking this morning, health. Exercise closest treatment to slow Parkinson's disease, and that's coming from researchers on page 24. Henry.
Right. Next is The Guardian. The banner headline there says, conflicting court orders. Weak oversight raises credibility doubts. And of course, still on that page, we have FG Sean's IMF rules out fuel and telecom taxes. Sorry about that. And then, of course, opposition reps asked Tinubu to shelve politicking, address national crisis.
And on the New Telegraph front page paper says, a minority caucus, insecurity, judicial chaos, friendly 2027 polls. Also, we have here, reps review military overhaul as stakeholders advocate for better healthcare. We see how here, 1.0 million to vote in equity Cuba poll. And that's what we have on the New Telegraph.
All right, on Daily Trust.
On the Telegraph, we see a photo.
Okay.
Yes.
Mention to us what it's about.
The photo of this one is saying
The Delta State
yes, the
Security
Delta
Summit,
State
which was held yesterday,
yeah.
made the cover page of New Telegraph. That's to let you know that it is a
It was an
major...
important
And you
event.
were there yesterday, so Henry, I can't wait to hear during the analysis.
Well,
how it went.
now, Daily Trust, fix insecurity or step aside, reps tell Tinubu. Then, of course, down there on the paper, we have FG rejects IMF's advice on fuel, telecom taxes.
And on Daily Sun, terror groups, Mamuldawa, Lakurawa members nabbed. And there's a rider, gunmen kill monarch, 9 others, injure 11 in Plateau and Kaduna. And just below the masthead of the Daily Sun today, federal government elevating 2027 politics above citizens' welfare. And that's coming from Reps Caucus. Urges Tinubu to rescue abducted Oyo children teachers in 72 hours. We also see JAMB releases UTME original result slip, outlines guidelines for access. Catholic bishop demands end to terrorism from Tinubu. Nigerians tired of killings and kidnappings. Those are the topical stories on Daily Sun.
All right, next is Daily Independent. And of course, long queues, safety fears, others threaten Nigeria's CNG shift. Then, of course, we have Refs Minority Caucus asked Tinubu to lead or resign. Of course, above the masthead, we also have the story on Alison Liziane Madueke. We have UK court acquits Alison Madueke of all bribery charges. That's all from the Independent newspaper.
And the Daily Independent also has a photo of our governor, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oberewori. I believe he's taking
Military
service
chief.
from military chiefs at the government house in Asaba during the security summit.
Summit.
Yes, and on Vanguard newspaper, we have only 55,000 doctors left to treat 20 million Nigerians. So, this is coming as a result of the Japa syndrome. So, I think during last year, it was so rampant having the Japa syndrome all around, having our doctors all Japa, which is, I think, that's why all going out.
That will come during the analysis.
Now we're having just only 55,000 doctors left to treat 220 million Nigerians. And on top of it, though, one of the kickers saying, UK court acquits ex-petroleum minister Alison Madueke of bribery charges. Also, we have the worry delineation, our position going forward, Ijo Urobo leaders. And also we have here saying, my take on Kwara's next governor. This is coming from former information commissioner.
All right, on the Punch, we have security forces mobilized as INEC moves sensitive materials today, talking about the Ekiti elections. And then, of course, FG halts stamp duty deductions by MDAs. NAF killed my husband, abandoned me with 3 children. A widow cries out. That's all from the Punch newspaper.
And on The Nation this morning, senators, reps to decide retaliation against South Africa. With a rider, anti-migrant actions, a dent on Mandela's legacy that's coming from the federal government. We also have the story government, 1 trillion naira treasury bills oversubscribed by 860 billion naira. It's a challenge for reform sustenance. And that's also on The Nation this morning.
All right, finally, on a local newspaper, The Punch, we have Oborowori convenes stakeholders summit on security, calls for collective action. London court acquits Alice Madueke of bribery charges. That does it for the headlines. Okay, we still have
The point in newspaper.
FG dismisses reports of new telecoms fuel taxes. That's all we have from The Pointer. That does it for the headlines.
Oh, these are topical stories making the headlines across national dailies. We're going to commence looking at some of the topical ones there, starting with the Security Summit, which took place in Delta State, of course, convened by the state chief executive, that's the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborowori. Henry was there yesterday, so I'm sure he will bring us the inside story.
All right, you're asking me to report. Actually, Delta State held security summit yesterday at the instance of the state governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborowori. It was an event packed full with stakeholders. We had traditional rulers there, of course. We had the President General of Communities. We had market women groups. We had forest guards. We had security members of the Security Defense Corps, vigilante, and of course some other social groups. And a detachment of the military was there. The Air Force was represented. The Nigerian Army was represented, of course. Profusely, the police force was represented. And the crux of the matter was to see how they can strengthen the existing security in the state. The consensus was that generally Delta is enjoying a measure of security as compared to other states. Of course, a lot of things, according to them, have been done in the background to nip issues on the board. Kidnapping has been dealt a blow, decimated, and it's not a very rampant issue coming up in Delta State. Of course, that was coming from the Commissioner of Police, Delta State. And then, of course, he talked about how they have recovered arms, from both armed robbers, kidnappers, and ammunition also from them. At the end of the day, the charge was to everybody, because the theme was that security is everybody's concern. So the traditional rulers, the President General, the police, everybody asked to put their hands on deck and ensure that, of course, security matters. You don't divulge what you're doing or what you want to do. But the idea is that there should be a network of communication, collaboration, starting from the community leaders, traditional rulers, through to local government chairmen. Of course, they were there yesterday. And then to the police force. And then where it becomes overwhelming, the army will be called in to see what they can do. It was a very serious gathering yesterday. And of course, kudos went to the security agencies, the governor, and of course, the traditional rulers for what they were doing.
Yeah.
A few concerns were also raised about how that people give information to maybe the security forces about somebody, the person will be arrested. The final analysis, the person comes
The whistleblower will be arrested.
No, you give information.
Okay.
They will get to the criminal, whoever is involved in violence, arrest the person. Later, the person will be bailed, and the person will now come and confront the whistleblower. That was a serious concern raised yesterday, that the police should be able to hold on to information for security reasons. And then, of course, the army also raised concern about how that some of the people that come to do whistleblowing, they tend to delay the information so that by the time they want to act, it's already obsolete. The Air Force man was trying to say that that's one of the reasons responsible for when they now go to do airstrikes. They strike at the wrong places because the people they told them were there had left there. So that's the crux of the matter. And I'm sure success will have something to say on the issue of security.
Yeah, the issue of security is one area that every state needs to look into critically, because at this point in time we are now, it's where we need to put our guards and put our communities on watch. So holding the summit at this time for security, to curb insecurity, is a paramount one for the governor of Delta State to do at this time. So I think this is the right time to hold such a meeting.
Absolutely, it is time to hold. In fact, such meetings should be held on a regular.
Yeah.
Given that we find how intense this security issue has been all this while in our country. Back in 2009, when Boko Haram started,
Yes.
in Northeast, precisely Maiduguri
Maiduguri.
State, no one saw that it was going to fester till this time. So we've been there. This is 17 whole years.
Yeah.
17 whole years of that.
It is actually
It's been intense.
it's actually very concerning because there are now too many dimensions to the issue of violence and insecurity. Too many dimensions. Before, what we had was armed robbery, where people will maybe go to the road, or somebody withdrew money in the bank and they got a tip off and they follow after the person. But now, with the issue of Boko Haram, many things came in. On the one side, you have religious reasons. They want to Islamize Nigeria, and so they started. On the other side is Boko Haram actually means book is harmful, and like Western education is harmful. So that is why Islam is not taken the way it should. So anything, any institution, anybody that represents Western education, let's deal with them.
But you do know that.
We started there.
Yeah.
Now, as we speak,
I was
it is
at something.
ISWAP. Okay.
Yes, I was running at something when I mentioned Boko Haram.
Yeah.
The fact that they came out to agitate against the influence of civilization and westernization, and how that the Northeast at the time, the dividends of democracy, they felt that they weren't quite enjoying it. We know it was headed by Mohammed Yusuf at the time, who later got killed, when there was a face-off between security agencies and the sect, and that is how the sect has spread.
Yes.
They have propagated a radical explanation and interpretation of the Quran. We have seen spate of violence over time across the country. And did I mention as well that this issue of insecurity that we're having, it's quickly spreading. And sometimes you find that there are manifestations, the different manifestations of this sect is something that our government is unable to keep pace with. Now we do not even know most times who is who. We've also seen ethnic agitations coming in the frame of that. So it's no longer now a question of Islamization thing and all of that. We have also seen lots of agitations on the fringes. Now, coming to Delta State and how the Delta State has managed to keep it together, we see that around, I will keep saying that states surrounding Delta State, especially in neighboring Anambra, we find that there are lots of skirmishes.
Of violence.
Yes, but something is going on in Delta. Why that we haven't had that spillover, that heavy spillover of insecurity. And the government of the day demands commendation for how they've been able to keep things together, held Delta State together. Every day, people cross that bridge. People coming, and there is nothing preventing them. Yes, they are free. There's freedom of movement in Nigeria, so people can afford to move. But somehow, the Delta State government has been able to check insecurity in the state. And calling for this proactive security summit at this time is testament to how seriously the government is taking this security issue. So we are happy that security agencies are rallying around the government of the day in Delta State. And we're looking forward to much more collaboration.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yes, much more collaboration that will yield benefits such that Delta, because Delta, really, everybody moves to Delta. People don't go to Lagos, they don't go to Abuja. The next place, likely, they will move to is Delta State. There's something about this state that attracts people from across the country. That is why Deltans, residents should also be on red alert when it comes to security. And it's good that all those concerns were raised. Concerns will be raised, and it should also be addressed. If there's anything else we need to inject on this security matter, we can quickly do that as we move over to the next one.
I also want to commend the governor of Delta State for his proactiveness and also keeping to his agenda mandate, ensuring safety for all Deltans, and say, I am reaffirming my mandate that I'll ensure all Deltans enjoy security. You get me? So this summit is a huge kudos.
Absolutely. Yes. So we're moving over now to take a break. When we come back, the analysis continues. You don't want to miss the next one.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
You're welcome back. And this is still a newspaper review and analysis on the national dailies, of course. This morning, running across lots of them. We saw the story of the acquittal of former Minister Dezani Alison Madueke by a London court that cleared her of bribery charges, and the ex-minister reacting, saying that Faith's family sustained her throughout the 11 years of trauma. We know, of course, that she served under the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan. At the time, she was in the news for the wrong reasons, the corruption charges leveled against her. She served as petroleum minister, and we, of course, know that that is a huge portfolio in government at the time. So now she's been acquitted in London. So we can tell that because of the judicial system in that part of the world in Europe, that they have looked into all the issues over this time and acquitted her finally. Because then it was thought that those funds were even located. At some point, we found that there were reports that they were in different accounts linked to her. So not necessarily, not just in her name. But now, to be cleared of all these charges, fully cleared, Bishop, you observed what went on back then. What are your thoughts?
Well, well, for her, we're happy with her because it's victory for her. For somebody to be in court on so many charges, the embarrassment after you have served your nation is really a huge pain. There were so many charges against her, taking on our case against her. So the court is the final arbiter. But if you ask me, the way they have abused the office of the Minister of Petroleum in this country, that is the pulse. That is the pulse of the nation. And people who have held that position, they've not altogether come out clean. There's always been issues of embezzlement. In fact, they are still talking about Kyari. Now, even issues came up of how she bought, one bra for how many billions of naira and all those things, pairs of shoes and all that. Now, yes, those are personal to her. Now, the acquittal is good, but I don't know whether it's victory for Nigeria, because to say that all those charges were just, cleared like that, I take it with a pinch of salt from the point of view that the money that was stashed away, because there's something that Europe and America are doing with us. When our people, let me not use the word steal money, misappropriate money and extradite it to their country, that money is useful to them. If, for instance, I'm a government official, I steal money and I keep it in any of the banks in Nigeria, the money is there. People can access it to take loan, to do things. The money is within the system. But it is very devastating, very impoverishing for me to steal public fund in foreign currency and stash it away. At the end of the day, if they acquit her of bribery and corruption, it's also possible that that is to the extent that the money stolen
Will not be extradited.
That's talking about extraditing it back to Nigeria. So it's a win for the UK, if you ask me. A win for the UK, but definitely a loss for Nigeria.
At some point, there was talk, I saw on the dailies, that if she was found guilty, that the funds will be extradited. So from what you've said now, we might not be looking, I think, successful weighing on that aspect. The fact that we don't quite know what becomes of the fund, now that she's been acquitted.
Now that she has been acquitted, if the funds are not in the Nigerian banks,
Because of course, it means it's not storing after all.
foreign currency, and they are in the foreign bank. So I don't think those funds, to my own opinion, I don't think those funds will be coming back or will be of benefit to our economy. You get so because most of the charges are bribery. She received gifts in large sums,
Large
large
exactly.
sums of amounts. So some are either in hard currencies, some are in Nigeria currency, but whatever it is, the ones that are not in Nigeria currency, they won't be to our favor.
The thing with of course, if she's now that she's been acquitted, that means that the funds are hers. So the worry is the enormity of the amounts
That's what we're
in
saying.
question. The
That's
fact
what I'm
that it is not, and at the time for it to be sent out of the country at that time, you know, it says a lot about how our public officers,
Yes,
you know,
especially that
do
office.
not think home.
Yeah.
You know, how to strengthen our economy, how to strengthen our lending power, how to build our financial institutions and all. So it tells a lot about how we take the Nigerian project.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, those sums of money, you know, if even they are seized from her or they are in Nigerian bank and they are with her, because they are here in this country, the money is very, very useful to us. But you see, taking it away, stashing away in banks in the UK, banks in Switzerland. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Switzerland is very rich, because they have a policy that absorbs anybody that puts money there.
Like a safe haven.
Once you put money in a Swiss bank, nobody can tamper with it except the person who put in there. And most of the time, when the person is convicted or is dead, you can imagine the volume of money volume of Nigerian money that is in external banks. People
That cannot be traced.
and they are dead, and the money belongs to the country. So I am just thinking that the government should come up with a serious policy to check the level of tampering with public funds. It's a Commonwealth fund, and it should be used for the benefit of the people. Please, 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 and please, this idea of stealing Nigerian money in foreign currency should be stopped.
Okay, now we have something on Daily Independent. Reps Minority Caucus asks Tinubu to lead or resign, and the rider there wants halt of 2027 campaigns, rollout of 6-month security and economic plan. I think that this is a very important aspect. You know, this is a minority caucus actually, but it's been reported that they are asking for concrete action on the issue of insecurity in the country. And they've also said that 2027 election campaigns, you know, some days back we talked about it and how you were asking the question, how will this insecurity issue tamper with the 2027 election? And now they're springing up to say that it is necessary to center security and center an economic plan for Nigeria, halting the 2027. How do you think that this might pan out? I think success, perhaps, will weigh first.
You know, the other day we were actually talking about this insecurity thing going on in the country right now. So how is it possible that, or we are not sure that it's going to affect the 2027 polls? And now having a minority caucus group coming out to call on the federal government to look into this issue is the right time. I wouldn't want to say it's late, because it is never too late. So long the issue is being talked about, is raised, yes, because this issue of insecurity is lingering for too long, and it's becoming all over. It's becoming all over. Just yesterday, the NIPS was attacked, and so on. So many things is happening right now. So if the federal government is not called out right now, we don't know how it's going to be like for the 2027 polls. So the issue of insecurity needs to be curbed.
Henry,
Yeah.
lead or resign? How would you react to it? It's quite audacious.
Yeah, sure. That's why you have opposition. You have a bilateral, what is it called? A bicameral legislature,
Legislature.
the Senate and the reps. And of course, each of them have majority and minority. The minority's job is always to call the executive to order, or the ruling party to address the things that are, becoming issues of concern to the nation. Now, for them to say so is normal, is acceptable, but usually the voice of the minority is always very faint. But it's good that somebody is saying it. It's good that the attention is being drawn, because what is happening is not just a minority thing. It's something that's affecting the whole Nigerians. And they have the right to say so. Even individuals are saying Tinubu should resign. There are protests going on now, calling on him to resign. So the onus is on the federal government, that is spearheaded by Tinubu, to address this matter. They have the ability, they have the capability. The Nigerian military, we have been sending soldiers, sending policemen to go on peacekeeping forces in other places where there are wars. We went to, Ivory Coast the other day, one country, to go and stop a coup that was brewing. Nigerian soldiers went there, stopped the coup effectively. In fact of fact, we are counted to have the best police force, to have the best army in sub-regional Africa. People come from other countries to be trained by our policemen. But here we are. So it's time that, okay, if you can track criminals, those who do something or who have political offense, you track them, you arrest them. Why can't we track bandits or terrorists in the bush? They will keep our children in the bush. They are living like. Now the bush we are talking about is Nigerian territory. Excuse me. Something has to be done.
So it's asking not about the country to take back our territory, our bushes that are still ours, and the issue of forest guards as well. I'm happy that you mentioned that forest guards were not left out of the
they came by the summit.
Organized by the Delta State government. I also believe that the Delta State government can also share notes with the federal government if they care.
And other states.
Yes, we can tell that what is going on in Delta State can be a model.
Yeah, actually,
with,
a lot of
what can go on across other parts of the country, and how that the federal government can as well, integrate some of these local actors, bring the states together, and have a united front towards tackling this insecurity challenge.
Yeah.
We cannot leave our forests to be taken over by non-state actors, because before you know it, that's how they round up countries. But at the time you're rounded up, forget about it.
There's nothing.
Yes, there's nothing you can do. The country becomes a country under siege, and then there is nothing else you can do. But that would not happen to Nigeria. We're hoping that the right things will be done.
That's our prayer.
At
That's
just
our desire.
the time. There's something we mentioned during the paper review. We'll add it quickly before we go. It's about 55,000 doctors.
Yes.
Against 220 Nigerians. I've done the maths. That means that one doctor will treat 4,000 Nigerians. How feasible is it, Henry? One doctor to 4,000 Nigerians.
Yeah, we have had this problem. It's not only in the medical sector, it's also in the police sector. They want to find out how many policemen are policing how many Nigerians. But let me come back from there, because we have shifted from this. Now, doctors, they are a special kind of breed. Their function is very, very important to the continued viability of a nation. And so, if other countries are weighing our doctors away, it's a very, very, very red alert signal that we must address. The issue of leaving the country, especially medics leaving the countries, not only medical doctors, we still have nurses who are leaving the country to places like Saudi Arabia, and then, of course, in other countries, as a way of addressing the issue in the country. Because right now, like in Canada, you have a population of older persons outweighing younger persons, because there they have this birth control, they plan, they tell you how many children you're going to have. They don't tell you no. That you should have children that you can take care of.
And life expectancy is higher
Is it?
in Canada. Life expectancy.
Yes,
People
it's high.
live longer.
So people live longer. Now they are having a project of caring for their elderly. And that is why they are calling for all these caregivers. Caregivers, give them money. But you see, people don't understand that also is another modern day slavery. Because you go there because you are looking at dollar against the naira. You go there. The first thing they need to take away your passport. They pay you the money, they give you mortgage, you have house, they take care of your children. But there's never a time you say you want to go. Maybe somebody wants to go and bury the father. You have to get permission before you do that. That's slavery for me. And then at the end of the day, for those of them who leave, by the time you come back and want to, domesticate the wealth you have acquired, so to speak, you find that those of us who are here struggling, we are still ahead of you.
Success
Then,
does that.
coming to the main issue,
Okay.
a situation where we have, like you said, one doctor attending to 4,000 Nigerians.
Yes.
That's no health at all. That's like having no doctor at all.
Yeah. One doctor that still has family and other things he's doing, that still has a life to live.
He has
4,000, not even 400, not even 40.
a doctor that has other thing doing him.
I tell you.
Other people.
And a doctor that is not well paid.
And not well paid.
Yeah, so weighing on this, because Henry spoke about a lot of things, talking about the fact that it's better to stay back in Nigeria. At some point, I wanted to say, I just let him.
It's like him. It's like him.
Success will take.
Success.
That's a
Within our success, she's likely to jump back very soon.
If you look at her, she's not with us anymore. Yeah, so please success take.
on this issue, the issue of our Nigerian doctors jackpot out of the country, just to secure a better future for themselves and their family, their children. I wouldn't want to say it's a bad idea anyway.
Yeah.
How do you fund your lifestyle as a doctor? Okay, let me let you.
The Nigerian system is not, is not giving a good welfare for let's say
The professional.
the professionals. You understand? It's not giving good welfare to professionals, to labor. Imagine someone getting underpaid. So how do you expect that person to fend for his family, to afford a good life he or she wants to live and God has blessed us with? So I don't see issues with them going out on the country. So it is a sign that our government needs to work on our economic system.
Okay, we have someone.
The issue is always, the thing also falls back to the Nigerian. We're always the victim, the man on the street, the average Nigerian. Now, some of these doctors that we're trying to sympathize with, they are employed by government. They still have their private clinic. So they are cheating the system, because at the end of the day, when you come to the government hospital where you're supposed to procure health at a cheaper rate, as it were, or subsidized rate, they carry you to their private clinic, still make their money. I am too sure, because you don't want to believe what I'm saying. If you allow the doctors in Nigeria to communicate with the ones outside in terms of their final take home for themselves, so the ones in Nigeria are still well off.
The thing is, it's good that you mentioned that the reason why they venture into private practice and pairing it with service to government is because they want to make
more money. Yeah.
Yeah, so the entrepreneurship aspect or that they bring into the medical profession also helps them to stay.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing that they're even thinking of entrepreneurship that has helped them be sustainable somewhat and not jackpot like the others. Yeah, so we have one of our colleagues who has medical doctors as children. So we cannot say that man will invest all that he has invested into their training. And in the end, he will keep his child back here to take peanuts home. Sometimes if we personalize these things, if what will make the child happy and fulfilled after all the long years and stress of medical training is for the person to go outside the country and have something meaningful to take care of not just him or herself, but the family members at home, then I think that it's not a bad deal. But the idea as well is for those who decide to stay in the country, government should make it worth the while. Not everybody has entrepreneurship tendency. Not every doctor will set up a clinic. Many of them actually have a heart of service. They want to serve in our teaching hospitals. They want to serve those who need them the most, who cannot pay for private attention. So those doctors should be encouraged to stay in the system and help the Nigerian healthcare system, the public healthcare system, which is where our main focus is, to grow. Because indeed we have what it takes. We have the human capacity. We have the right people in the right places to move Nigeria forward across sectors. That's it on Newspaper Review on Morning Dew right here on Dott TV. There is much more coming, but at this time we'll bring you sports update because the World Cup is raging from Canada to Mexico and where else to the US. We'll bring you that one right at about this time. And then Morning Dew.
The FIFA World Cup is in full swing, and there's a lot of stories coming out of the World Cup, including Scotland topping a group that includes the likes of Brazil and Morocco in it, Haiti playing their first World Cup game in a very long time, Qatar gaining their first World Cup point, and the reward that follows the player who scored the 9-minute equalizer against Switzerland to earn that point. Of course, so many other stories, including Germany's brutal annihilation of Curaçao by 7-1. Then, of course, Tunisia's embarrassing defeat to Sweden by 5-1. And also the Netherlands playing out an enthralling 2-2 draw with Japan. Welcome to the review of those games, and I'll take you through them for as much as I can. Of course, no better place to start, but of course the game, which was Curaçao's first game at the World Cup. They came against Germany and they were defeated by 7-1. But the moment Comadancio scored that equalizer to make it 1-1 against Germany was perhaps the most satisfying moment for a lot of people who have been following Curaçao and their football. Then, of course, Germany on the other side got a very dominating performance after a shaky start, it has to be said, especially after they considered that the equalizer, but eventually remembering who they are and dealing decisively with Curaçao. Then, of course, we go to Group F, which, like I mentioned, also featured another high-scoring game where Sweden defeated Tunisia by 5-1. And Tunisia subsequently has gotten rid of the manager and trying to see if they can make anything of the World Cup performance that has started in the worst way possible. Tunisia, of course, got defeated in their final friendly game against Belgium by 5-1. Yes, the exact same scoreline. And it didn't look like lessons were learned from those defeats because it repeated itself on the night as well. And then, of course, Japan played out a 2-2 draw with the Netherlands with goals from the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Crescencio Somerville for the Dutch national team, while Kito Nakamura also scored to make sure that the Blue Samurai got the first points of the World Cup competition. In Group F, Sweden tops with 3 points and a goals difference of +4. Of course, the draw between Japan and Netherlands meant the both of them come second and third respectively with a point apiece. Well, it is yet to be seen where Tunisia will go from this embarrassing defeat, but one thing is certain, and it is that Sweden have tried to play a better performance than they did all through the qualification process in their group to make sure they get to the World Cup. Thank you very much for watching that review of the FIFA World Cup across Saturday and Sunday. Stay tuned for the reviews of the games that will take place tonight and early tomorrow morning, including that between Spain and Cape Verde. Thank you very much for watching. I remain Anthony Uche, and stay tuned to Dott TV.
This is Dott TV.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
You're welcome back to Morning Dew, and this is the Contemporary Talk segment where we get to look at issues in society and how things can be better. I am Ife Arono, and I'm still with Henry.
Yeah, thank you, Ife.
Okay, so now we'll be talking about young people in Nigeria and how to empower them, empowering the youth of Nigeria. We're joined by Mr. Godfrey Ubaka. He is the immediate past general manager of Pointers newspaper and a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you, Mr. Godfrey.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ife. And you're welcome, Henry. Thank you for coming, guys. Be great.
Thank you so much.
The Morning Dew. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us. Now, talking about youth empowerment from your time, your time of youth, and now, what would you say is the difference between what youth empowerment meant to your generation and what it means to a young person today?
Well, I think it has always been stated that the youths are the future leaders, the leaders of tomorrow. But the painful thing is that it has always ended up as a slogan, a propaganda, and something used by leaders to give hope, serving hope as a diet. And the people live in hope, and sometimes they get so frustrated. I watched you from the reception talking about people who are jabbering, people who are in the country of frustration. And I can imagine what Nigerian youths are facing in Ghana, what Nigerian youths are facing in South Africa, the humiliation all over. And it speaks a whole lot about what is happening. And we have a government in place that talks about a renewed hope agenda. But in reality, you find out that we have a youth that are frustrated because there's nothing being renewed about the hope. And that is the quagmire. That is the frustration that is in the air. And we now have a situation where the youth have a way of responding to this in different ways. Either some are agitating, some are frustrated, some are leaving the country, some are depressed and going into drugs and all. But in all, in just those, have a picture of, they have this saying that success without a successor is a monumental failure. We have a nation, we have a group of leaders, not so much concerned about who succeeds, a generation that should succeed after them, that should succeed them. And we have policies that have not been continued with. In Dott State, there used to be a youth empowerment thing and a training program. People are given startup packs and all.
Was it in your time?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Not too
Distant past.
Yeah.
I thought you would bring us up to speed from what it meant when you were a young man.
But let me take it.
What did youth empowerment mean, and then how has it changed?
As a young
Yes.
when education was prioritized.
Awesome.
Today, including free education that UPN brought our way in Bendel and Delta State. Today, you see out-of-school syndrome, out-of-school children syndrome. You see people on the street. So they are not being empowered, even in the North, the Almanjeri system. They are not being prepared for the role that is expected of them. We've had policies that say 6334 system. That says that in junior secondary school, you are in the classroom. For you to move over to the senior secondary school, you have skill acquisition. You have to, back up your academics, the textbookish thing with skill, the way it's done in Ghana and some other places. So that when you are leaving the secondary school, you're living not just with GCE, your certificate and all that. You are also becoming like a screeder, a painter, a tailor. For a woman, a fashion designer. Those are skills to prepare you for the future. But it ends up as a policy, and every policy is as good as its implementation. We have policies we are not implementing, and so there is a lacuna.
Let's come this way. Government has their role to play, towards the raising of our children. We know that for somebody to become, it has to be trained. He has to be equipped. Now let's come from the parents' point of view. In your time, for instance, in our time, our parents
set their eyes on us to see that we succeed in whatever way. Whether some didn't have money, they will say, go and learn tailoring. And they drive you along it. Some say you are going to school, they drive you along it. And then you come out and you're useful to yourself. Now, how do we see parents' commitment to the upbringing of their children as people who will succeed them tomorrow? Are we doing well as parents?
Henry, that has almost become like a disaster.
Okay.
You know, because in my time, not just that parents had this moral commitment, compelling moral commitment. It was like every parent in the community saw you as their child.
Okay.
And so there was nothing wrong in any parent in the community correcting me as a child growing up, because they felt that if I grew up in error, I was going to be a concern to the entire community. Now we have a situation where, as a result of urbanization and all that, that structure has broken down. You cannot correct a neighbor's child. No, even teachers cannot scold a child. The parents will come from home to attack the teacher. We have had an incident like that in Agbo, where a teacher was beaten to death. So teachers cannot even correct the children. And beyond that, even the parents themselves have abdicated their responsibility to house helps. And house helps can't give what they don't have. That is the dilemma. You live the man is working in a bank. Let me not mention any bank. The woman is working maybe as a full-time broadcaster, and at the end of the day, you find out that
they are not present.
They are not present there.
Yeah.
You are virtual parents running your home with the phones and all that. And while that is going on in the crucial formative years, you know, these children are impacted more by models they get from the social media.
Okay.
And it could turn out a disaster most of the time.
Now we have looked at it from 2 points. Earlier in the conversation, you talked about the place of education and how that free education policy, which has not been plastic health.
Education.
Yes, even
that had skill acquisition.
yes, components. Yes, have not been prioritized. But we look around and we find that some states have begun to also spring into the digital era. Now that we're talking of the digital economy, to begin to come up with programs where young people, through the Ministry of Youth Development, can learn skills in areas like coding, software development, data analysis, and the like. So you can talk to us about how that can be a game changer. We see that it is still at an early stage. We can't say that it is everywhere yet. And it's also important for us to make a distinction between youth development and youth empowerment.
Yeah.
Because the development aspect can be about what parents can do. It's holistic and it is lifelong. But at this point, talking of youth empowerment, especially with digital skills, is that the way forward?
Digital space is the way forward. But it's not an all-inclusive thing for everybody. You know, it points the way forward. It opens up opportunities. And we can see that it has its own positive side, and it has also its own social nuisance side. But in all, it requires policy. It requires a solid family foundation to ensure that it is used to advantage of the society and not, it has its own dysfunctional implications, which can be explored and turn the society into a nuisance. So we must ensure that the family foundation is firm. We must ensure that the faith-based organizations are doing what they should do for moral uprightness. Then, of course, the information and technology, the IT stage, is such that it could give a flight. But of course, it's not a wholesome component, because it's not everybody that can fit into it.
Now, from what you've said, I glean that civilization has dealt a blow on our own structural system of raising our children to become. Can you look at aspects of our value system or re-evaluated value system that has affected the way we are bringing up our children?
Well, I understand that outside broadcasting, you're also a man of the pulpit. And you people have a way of telling us that righteousness results in the nation. There should be a foundation of righteousness. There should be a foundation of integrity.
Okay.
Growing up, people used to ask questions.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of a parent that the child in the secondary school returned with a vehicle, that he just bought. And the man said, you can't sleep in the same house with me. It's either you sleep in this house with this vehicle, and I myself and your mother will look for where to go and sleep, or otherwise you go, because we can't understand where this is coming from. But that is an isolated case.
Yeah.
Because parents no longer ask questions. I visited a community and I saw a wonderful building springing up, and I asked them, who is doing this? They say it's a student of Washington Polytechnic. God, yeah, or so. I looked at another one. I said, who is building it? They say it's in the Delta State University, Apraka. The ones working in NNPC, the ones working, where are their buildings? Now, in my time, you are the breadwinner. You send money to your children in school. We now have a rule reversal where parents at home get broke on their handling project, and they ask the children in the university to send them money for the project not to be stored. The question is, what is the child doing in the university that is earning him money? I don't want to go into the depth of cybercrime and all that, because everybody tells you they are trading on cryptocurrency and all that, and that there is a little space that widens opportunities. Beautiful. But even the churches too are not asking questions.
Yeah.
You make a big donation. Oh, great. But the question is, what is the visible source of your investment base? Where is the money coming from? So until we start asking questions and see how we can revert to the moral foundation and base, we may be progressing in error, and our value system could be just too. And that is the dilemma of how we can move forward as a society.
All right. And that takes us to the point where we have to take a breather, and we'll be right back on Morning Dew. Do not go away.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Glad to have you back. This is still Morning Dew. Earlier, we were talking with a veteran journalist, Mr. Godfrey Ubaka, who shared thoughts on the way forward for Nigeria in terms of youth empowerment, given that the youth are the future of our country. And we thought it wise to bring a young person on set as well to share with us how young people see or view the very critical aspect of youth empowerment from a youth lens. Nkechi Chukwudi is a young journalist, and she's with us this morning. Hi, Nkechi.
Good morning. Hello.
Nkechi, good to have you in the studio.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So I believe you listened to our conversation with Mr. Ubaka.
Yeah, I did.
Now, talking about youth empowerment, we need to understand what it means to the young person in Nigeria today to be empowered. What does it mean?
Okay, there are a lot of varieties for youth empowerment. I think the general definition would be giving a youth in a geographical setting the equipment to thrive in a social, economic, even career-oriented setting in a way that he or she feels like a member of that society. Yes, in the times past, the government has put in a lot of initiatives, but I'd like to borrow one of the issues the first guest mentioned, which is what righteousness at the basis of what you're executing to empower the youth. I think it's more or less accountability and transparency. Over time, we have seen a lot of things being put in place to power or empower the youth, but some of them have not been seen to a conclusion. There is always a sidetracking. For a NEL fund, for instance, that's the one for the students' loan. They'll tell you they've disbursed over 282 billion naira. But yet we have youth still complaining that some of these things have not been what accorded to them. So when we talk about youth empowerment, there should be no lapses, because take it or leave it, 60% of every thriving situation in an economy is dominated by the youths. So if they are left wanting, your economy is already lagging behind.
Yeah, let's come from this angle. We always hear this axiom that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow.
Sure.
And of course, it behoves society. By that we mean parents and the government to set out programs that will make you to acquire knowledge, learn morality, things that are foundation for growth. I know your background as a person, but I'm looking at you now. I want to ask you, from the house you grew up,
yes,
you went to school, you have people who were behaving in school. To what extent will you say that the youth of today have plans to grow into leaders of tomorrow by the way you have viewed some of them on campus?
Okay. Let me give a prequel to the answer I'm going to give you. Because I belong to the crowd that will say the problem of our society is from the top. It's not totally out of place to make that statement, but I do believe that for every production to come out in a proper way, every single department involved in that production should be accountable.
Okay.
So it's easy to blame another person for your mistakes or your failures, but taking responsibility yourself is one of the things the youth today has sort of sidetracked. Then I'll answer your question. Sadly, a lot of us have deviated from the teachings our parents did give to us. I'm not
for those who were giving teachings.
Exactly, for those who were giving teachings. But I do believe that, let me borrow a leaf from a local adage that says, even if a child is not trained, he or she should train himself. So that means that at a given stage in your life, you should be able to, at least if you're cognitively aware, mentally aware, you should be able to differentiate between what is right or what is wrong and toe the path of righteousness. So a lot of us do deviate from these things, and we forget that whatever we're doing doesn't just affect us. It affects the next person, and on a wider range, the society we do find ourselves in. So that's
how do you think the young people can begin to come back to the righteous path, as you put it, to
on the right foundations,
to this rediscover? For some people who don't quite have right foundations, we see even in our time, family structures are being broken down. We had lots of single mothers, single fathers, all over the place. So that tells you a lot about the environment that young people, children are growing into. So how do they begin to find a path, for proper youth development, which can then grow into the youth empowerment that we desperately want for our young people? How do they begin to find the right path?
Well, it's never too late to go back to the drawing board. There's something I fondly say. I say, no matter how children, because the truth is, at some point in life, you will err, so to speak. No one is perfect. But I still thank God that some of the doctrines inculcated into us by our parents, those are the things we fall back to or on when we do deviate. So one of the things I'll advise the youth of today is careful what you expose yourself to. You see, the eyes is the window to the soul. I think this is in the Bible, I think. Yeah, something like that. So you'll be surprised at how much, I want to say, influence what you expose yourself to has on your person and subsequently the way you act in society. It's not far to say that if you're exposed to bad ordinances, you will be bad. That's just putting it lightly. But even the sort of microscopic, indulgences we have here and there. Take, for instance, the literate. You just throw something out the car. And it's a careless attitude.
Yes.
You might in turn transform that into a macro state, something bigger. So you see, the things we call little attitudes actually build the bigger characters.
That's what builds habits.
All right.
Exactly. And just to chip in, because you talked about exposure,
Yes.
what young people expose themselves to. Britain and Canada are on the fringe. I mean, they're at a point where bans on social media are being needed for young people, such that anyone below 16 will not be allowed. And of course, we know that we're actually mirroring what the West does in this part of the world. You know, they gave us social media, they gave us these things, and now they're taking it back from the young people. So I would want you to talk about how social media has also impacted young people in Nigeria, and how that perhaps, do you see a possible ban in the future if our government is serious about bringing young people back to the past, you know, for all of these ordinances to begin to work in their lives and for them to be well packaged?
Okay. That's a tricky one. Okay, first, let me start it this way. The economies of the United States and the UK have a very regimented, not regimented in the strict sense, but they have a system that is ironclad. It's unshakable. So if they want to curtail or curb these things, they can.
Sure,
The question is, can we?
Can we?
That's the right question.
Yes,
So
that's the question.
I'm not saying it's out of place, because frankly speaking, as an aspiring or future parent, I do know that from what I've seen, I'll be very, very dogmatic. Yes, very dogmatic with the time my child spends on social media. I don't have a Facebook account today. I'm not proud. I'm just saying I did it for my person. So we should raise youths that do things for themselves, and not just in the whole quote unquote self-care initiative being passed down. Things that actually make you a better person, not a social media person or no. Have your integrity, have your identity, not rooted in a mainstream ordination.
Have what you do and what you can't do, what you don't do.
That's what.
Okay, yeah.
All right, I want to come this way. In the scriptures,
Yes.
I should speak like a pastor now.
Bishop.
The Bible says that narrow is the way and straight is the gate
Exactly.
that leads to life. Now, most times when we preach it, we think that we're talking about heaven, that leads to life, that leads to success. But wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. Now, we notice that youth today, they want to start where their parents are ending. By that I mean, they don't believe in hard work leading to success. There is this desire for things so early in life. Our last resource person told us of how that a child in the school is building a house. I know how long it took me, even after I graduated, to be able to pay my rent. 7 years of working, I was still struggling to pay my rent. But today, a child of 16, a child of 18 wants to drive a 15 million naira car. Now, don't you think that this desire, this endless desire for material wealth, well-being, is also a bane of what do you?
You see, I'll still backtrack a bit. You made mention of your house that you built and the rent you paid and how you struggled. It actually added to the value attached to those things when they finally came, right?
That's right.
So I think what we might be missing is the lesson of dignity in labor. A lot of us have forgotten what it is to work for something. Almost they had. I for one, there was a time in my life I was handed a lot of things. I'm the only girl child in my family. So I think that's that for that. But I didn't truly appreciate what I had until I started working and I saw what our parents had to go through, to put them. But sadly, some parents are even, drivers of this thing, because they hand down to their kids, keep giving, teaching them about cost and not value. If you can throw money at it, why not? Oh no. Sadly, you're building a mentality into that child. And then tomorrow when a little storm comes and challenges, they don't know what it is to persevere. They can't. Then talking about the $1 million box, it's still, most people have a lot of pressure from family, but societal pressures cannot be ignored as well. You're looking at, I once had a friend who told her roommate, why do you keep watching videos of Otedola's children? You won't give yourself heart attack.
No, she's not trying to be brutish or negative. She's just trying to say, you know, this kind of people, they have a lifestyle that you can't contend with. Why do you keep exposing yourself to what they expose themselves to?
Yeah.
Hereby giving you some kind of thoughts. Before you know, tomorrow,
And then a sense of inadequacy as well. Yeah.
quick rich schemes begin to get into your head. How do I make the next $1 million without really working for it? So these are the things that in turn try and bring this sense of greed and in self-insufficiency into the average youth in Nigeria today.
And I believe that having listened to Nkechi Chukwudi, every young person who's watched will go back to review what they look at, what the algorithm is serving you is a byproduct of the kind of exposures that you have, those you follow on social media. You might even need to delete 1 or 2 social media apps. You don't have to be everywhere. A lot of young people are on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere, only you. You know, how many hours do you have in a day?
No, we're not going to totally put it down because some people have found positive ways to apply it. The question is
to be everywhere.
No, truly. But if there's a hit, I've earned money, reasonable amount of money on one of the social media accounts, and I didn't have to do anything illegal. Yeah. I'm not putting down social media, but there should be some semblance of control. You know, you have to. Okay, just pretend. There's something I tell myself. Pretend your dad is watching every step you make. Then try again. It works for me. It could work for you. So that's what we're saying, really.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nkechi Chukwudi, for sharing your thoughts. So everyone, pretend your dad is watching you at every point, even in your closet, and you'll be surprised how your life will change.
If your parents are not watching, God is watching.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes you feel God is distant.
Yes, yes, it's
you
true.
know that your parents, they are close with you. Or sometimes it might not even be your parents, because some people don't even have that.
Basically, someone you have a hero worship.
Yeah, sure.
Could be a role model. Yeah.
For me,
Somebody who's a guardian.
it was my auntie way back. So I remember that if my auntie hears this, she'll be heartbroken. I would then see.
You retreat yourself.
Right.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Nkechi, for being with us on Morning Dew.
Thank you.
And we do hope to have you back next time to talk about other dimensions of youth empowerment
To them.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. We'll just take another short break and we'll be back to wrap up.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
We impose extra burden on the masses. I feel your pain.
Only humility will lead us to unity, and unity will lead us to peace.
Go to the market and sell your products.
Dott Entertainment, your weekly dose of pure fun, airing every Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., Saturdays 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., only on Dott TV.
Quite all right this beautiful morning, talking about security matters, the Delta State Security Summit that took place at the Government House, talking about the Reps Minority Caucus that has asked the President Tinubu, to lead or resign. We've also seen the case of former Minister of Petroleum, Dezani Alison Madueke, who has been let off by a London court. She's delighted that finally, after 11 years of being under court trial, she is finally free, and a lot of things, including health matters. It's been quite a ride, Henry. What stood out for you?
Well, for me, I think the issue of the reps the minority caucus in the reps standing up to the president and asking him to, wake up to the issue of insecurity and deal with it if we're going to have an election. That was okay for me.
Yeah, so that's what you're taking back. So anybody you see that is not even a leader resign. And that line, it sticks.
It sticks, yes.
Profound.
Yeah. And for me, still in the issue of security. So the one-day summit of the Delta State governor and the stakeholders of the state to talk and see how to keep maintaining security and curb insecurity. So that's one that actually stood out for me. So it's a kudos to Delta State governor.
And riding on the back of our conversation with Mr. Godfrey Ubaka and later on Nkechi Chukwudi regarding youth empowerment and how that without proper youth development, we cannot empower the youth. And that brings us as well to the issue of young Nigerians who are ever in search of greener pastures. Nigeria is green. We grew up listening to that. Yes, Nigeria is green.
I don't understand the game.
How come our young people are looking for greener pastures outside Nigeria? Yeah. That is ironic. It doesn't add up. So it's proper time. The time is now. If the insecurity issues can be managed well, and we begin to build our economy,
that's right,
we can begin to resuscitate the green land.
Yeah, it's the government that should till the land.
Absolutely.
So that we can sow and make it evergreen.
Okay, thank you so much for being part of this ride. It's been fantastic. Coming from success.
Yes, it has been a wonderful day. It has been a wonderful time out here on Morning Dew Dott TV this morning. So I want to say, stay with us and have a wonderful day.
And from Henry.
Yeah, viewer, thank you for riding with us along this morning. I believe you enjoyed yourself. You had a good time. We expect you to be with us tomorrow.
And from me, it's a beautiful day. All you need to do is to do your best. Give it your best shot. Stay away from any form of criminality, anything that would dent your image. Remain a forthright and patriotic Nigerian. And keep watching Dott TV. I am Ife Arono. Have a beautiful day.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
This is Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV. Dott TV.
Dott TV, the heart of the matter.